Hello everyone, I'm Lisa Grieg. I'm with the Angleton Chamber, and today we are interviewing some folks who are running for offices for the Angleton City Council. This afternoon I have with me Mr. John Wright. Welcome.
Thank you.
He's running for position 5 for the Angleton City Council. So I'm going to start off and just ask you some questions, and we'll go over your answers and let the voters know who you are.
Great.
So, all right, my first question I'm going to start with this afternoon is, why, in your opinion, are you qualified for the position? What sets you apart from the other candidate in this race, especially as it pertains to interests of business and small business owners?
Good. Well, I've been involved with the city for 13 years. I was elected 3 times. I served from 2007 to 2013 as a city council member. I was position 4. I've been involved with numerous organizations. I'm an Eagle Scout, Scoutmaster of Troop 13. I've been on Keep Angleton Beautiful currently. I've been on the Parks Board. I've served on the, I chair 2 committees currently, the 288, 523 group, the County Road 220 group, and I've just been involved in many different areas, charter review committees. I could go on, but the city is really where I've spent a lot of time and effort working on.
Okay, thank you. How important is it for the city to purchase items and services from local vendors? And how committed to the Shop Local motto are you? And what have you done to encourage the city and its citizens to keep their tax dollars in Angleton?
Great. Well, I believe strongly in shopping local. Personally, from my perspective, my wife and I and all of my family members, we spend a lot of time shopping in Angleton. I can tell you we're remodeling a house, so we spend a lot of time at Lake Hardware. That's my favorite place to go on Saturdays. And then when I was currently running for campaign, first place I went was Baystar, because I've dealt with them a lot in the past and they're great. When we had our wedding, we got our flowers from the family flower shop. And from a overall perspective, we eat in all the restaurants all the time. I think everybody around here typically does, and we always want to see more. But from a city's perspective, the shop local means a lot, because a lot of citizens don't know the 1 cent sales tax that you get from that, because you pay 8.25, but 1 cent of that goes to the city. Of that, half of that goes to your Parks and Rec, and then the other part goes to your streets. And so by shopping local, I think the city needs to do more to educate the citizens to understand that when you do spend your dollars here, that money is going towards fixing your streets and sidewalks. And we do about $100,000 in repair every year of city streets, basically just straight overlays. What we need to do is we need to spend more time educating those citizens to say, if you spend that money here, you're going to see more businesses coming here, because let's face it, when you go to places like Lake Jackson, they have lots of businesses there. So you'll go there to eat, but you end up shopping and everything else. So eating here and shopping here, 1, fixes your streets, and 2, it provides more commerce and more foot traffic here in this area.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
What do you see as Angleton's greatest challenge in the next decade, and how can you, as an elected official, help face those challenges?
Well, there's no secret that everyone says growth, right? So growth is absolutely a good thing for our city. But at the same time, I think people need to understand that there's a lot more to that phrase than just growth. There's our infrastructure. The most expensive thing we do in our city is try to put water and sewer and streets into those areas so those businesses can come, and not just businesses, but housing developments. So that for me is one of the hardest things that the city has to be able to get under control, because let's face it, we're growing from the north, we're growing from the west, and we're growing from the south now. So we have a lot of demands on our infrastructure, and so that's part A. But part B would be, as we talked about, the streets, and we did the Henderson Road lift station, and we've done a lot of different areas where we needed that. But at the same time, we spent the time to expand Downing when I was on council with the school district, when they did the new stadium and the new school. And that was the first time that we actually were able to drive from Downing all the way to 523, which really helped out a lot. It's things like that that you're going to see a lot more of, where these developments are going in, and they need infrastructure to go there. But the other part that people don't get is, and I think we're seeing that a lot more now. We just saw in an article yesterday about an officer being shot. Safety is the biggest thing. Our fire and our police. I think we don't realize how spread out we have our police and our fire right now. Our fire department covers ESD and covers the city, and then the police covers all aspects of this area. And if something major happens in two different spots, in north and south, we're in a critical situation there. So I think the one thing we have to do is we have to do more for making sure that we have enough of safety as well in there. And we're already doing that now by hiring a couple of new firemen, so full-time fire, to offset a little bit of the volunteer group. So that's one thing.
Thank you. How do you plan to familiarize yourself with issues that come before the council that would specifically affect or regulate business?
Well, that's I was on council for 6 years, so I'm pretty familiar with what comes before council. A lot of times I feel like we need to do more to get the word out for our businesses. I believe that we need to solicit feedback from our businesses. I would absolutely agree with doing a C2Y call so that the local developers know what's an agenda's coming. I know that there's a lot of differences of opinions of how we can do that, but I feel like that's a great way of doing it. I also believe that we need to study. It's just like a test. You have an agenda, and so you review that agenda. I review every agenda, even currently. I haven't missed a council meeting, or not a council meeting, a budget workshop in 9 years. I regularly attend the council meetings, and I go through the website, and I don't think a lot of residents know, but you can go to the Angleton website and you can pull up the agendas for almost any meeting that they have, from boards and commissions to the city council, and you can go into the details that most of the council members are getting as well. So the master agenda will have all the backup to the 2 or 3 page agenda that you see posted online.
Okay, thank you. In the past, Angleton has lost small business and development opportunities to other communities. What steps would you take to make the process less cumbersome and make Angleton more inviting to those who wish to invest here?
Well, I think from a city's perspective, the only major business that I can remember us losing lately would be Merit Medical, and that was really devastating to us. We definitely hated to see them go, but from what I understand, at the end of the day, it didn't really have to do with the city itself. It had to do with other issues that they had to resolve from their side. But from our side, I think the city should be fair and even-handed in the ordinances. I don't believe that the city should be involved in everyday, this is what we want you from a business perspective doing. We want to be inviting to our local businesses. We want them to thrive. We want them to be successful. But we don't want to get in the way of their business. I believe that we should do an annual review of our ordinances with, maybe a select group, create a committee of local business developers and maybe local businesses to maybe get together and say, we reviewed this 200-page document, and in this 200 pages, these are some barriers to what's happening for us to grow. I know we just had Overnight Software decide to stay and re-up, and they're going to invest in another part of town. I believe that there's when I was on council, we brought 3M to here. We brought Technical Innovations. We brought FlowServe. We've brought countless restaurants and little places like that. So I believe that we have lost some local businesses, but the best thing that the city can do, and probably goes without saying, is lower our tax rate. A lot of businesses are on mom and pop or small business, and they're taxing any income is the same as you or I would be. And in that case, we'd have to, we're the 8th highest taxing entity in city-wise in Brazoria County. But we are the most expensive when you total up all the taxing entities. I believe there's 7 or 8 of them in the city. So, that's really where we can have an effect on our local businesses. Lowering the tax rate and being fair and even-handed with our ordinances, and not trying to pick winners and losers through tax abatements and things like that. That's really where I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Describe the models, tools, or incentives that other communities in Texas are using successfully that you would support to encourage a business including job creation and retention in Angleton and boost economic development. Do you believe we could benefit by watching what other cities are doing?
Sure. So, once again, the city uses a lot of those now. I mean, the city is always going out and looking at other areas. So I'll give you some examples. We have 380 agreements. The Teal Industrial Park that's just going in on County Road 220. That's a 380 agreement. Basically an incentive program that has to do with the taxes and that they get back on certain investments in that area. The TERS. Before I was on council in 2007, they created a TERS, the Jameson Medical Facility. That's a tax increment reinvestment zone. What that does is, as the developer put in the infrastructure, there's a street out there, there's a water and sewer system out there. That really had a lasting effect to set that area up for future growth. And that developer gets money back over the years as more taxing value goes into that area. Then the other one is the industrial agreements. Benchmark and the Missouri County Business Park, the old Intermedics building. Those are using industrial agreements. So they pay a certain rate to the city, and that's an area that we service. Then you have to look at a mud district. We talked about a mud. Recently the council and the Planning and Zoning Commission met and talked about maybe creating a municipal utility district, but they didn't do that. And I believe that's a good answer because we have a lot of capacity in our current systems, and they're not too far outside of the city, so we're able to hook them into the existing city services. So that was a good answer. And then one that no one really understands that we're doing, and this was the last thing that was happening while I was still on council, was we created a tax rebate program. And what that does, and this is where you're seeing a lot of development coming in from the Heritage Court subdivision, and a lot of the businesses or the residential that you're seeing coming in. Texan Trail is almost completely filled. And what that does is the residents get 2 years. So on the M&O portion of your tax rate, which is 0.6373 of your 0.7176 tax rate, the citizen, not the citizen, but the person that builds the house for 2 years can get the tax money back on that 0.6373, the M&O portion of your tax rate for the city. And then on the businesses, they get a 3-year. And that's really spurred a lot of growth. And I can tell you, I haven't heard of very many cities in Texas that are using that. But it's something that we heard of from out of state that was using, and we brought it here. And it's really been beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. In your discussions with voters, what concern or issue has been raised that has surprised you the most? And what are your suggestions for dealing with that issue?
Well, I've knocked on over 400 doors, and of the ones that don't slam the door in my face or throw the card back at me, many of them talk about taxes. The tax rate is just, the citizen doesn't look at it from, well, the city's taxing me at this rate. They look at it as, this is what my tax bill is. And that includes our school district and our drainage district and everybody else. That really basically has a really lasting effect on each time they pay that, their mortgage or their, tax statement for just a piece of property. And the part that they want is the zoning ordinances. I've had a lot of, really I would call them code enforcement issues that they want to see fixed. From my sewer system has a problem to my street needs to be overlaid or fixed, or the person behind my house hasn't trimmed their trees in who knows how long and it needs to be cleaned up. And there's certain areas where the city can be really effective in that, and that's by making sure that everyone's following the same rule book. If it's not the same, let's make sure that it's fair to everybody, and let's change it if that's what the majority of the citizens want. We can do that. But I believe those are the two biggest ones that I've heard of.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. How would you improve the operation and efficiency of the office of the council? And how do you view the relationship between the business community in Angleton and the city? And would you or how would you change that picture?
Well, I mean, I think I said earlier, I want to do a CTY call. And here's where I want to go with this is, there's a lot of differing opinions on this. The CTY system, and those that don't know what the CTY is, we do phone calls in case of emergencies where, I don't know if you heard when the guy got stabbed at Tehran, the city sent out a CTY call and it said, hey, there's been an accident and here's what's going on and please take precaution. And that's what the CTY is predominantly used for, hurricane notices or inclement weather where they want the citizens to get out. But then there's also the other part of the email system. And I believe the email is should be used for an informative way. And with that, I would put council agendas and maybe the ordinances or public hearings that are coming up. And maybe let's try to force it over to the residents to make it easier for them to see it than to expect them to go looking for it on the city website or in the newspaper or something. Maybe be more proactive in that aspect. And that, along with that, basically it would force our businesses to see what's coming at them. And they could say, wait, this ordinance that you're about to pass, this is going to adversely affect my business. I would really like to talk about this. And they could get on the council agenda, or they could do the CTY or the public hearings and talk about that. Then I believe communication can always be improved. For me personally, I am a big proponent of all social media. So I would like to see us using more of our Facebook page and, maybe posting pictures of where we're at on Instagram, or, quick little soundbite here or there on Twitter, and just using those avenues so that people can see what we're doing. And then I also want to do a joint meeting once a year with all of our, developers and business. And maybe you can call it what you want, either a meeting or you can call it a town hall, you can call it, just a public hearing. But make sure that our developers are notified about it ahead of time and schedule a Saturday. So majority of them are available in those times. And I would do it personally. I would do it by myself, or I would do it with the council. I would have no qualms either way. But I think that getting back on the same page with them would be really helpful. But from a business perspective, I don't think that I don't know how you would improve the relationship between the business community and the city other than those avenues. I don't think that you would want to go in and go knock on their door and say, I need to know what's going on in your business, or in that aspect. But the chamber's a voice, and we have a joint meeting. The 5th Tuesday of every month is reserved for chamber or the drainage district. If there's any business to be talked about, that's what we would do. I think you'll see that. One thing that came out of the joint chamber and the city businesses meeting was the downtown revitalization. That started when the two groups got together and said, hey, let's share a vision. Let's share a vision for the downtown. And we paid money to the U of H group to come in and do a study. And that happened while I was still on council. I don't know if you've seen all the improvements that have happened in this area, but I believe that this area has come, a long way from where it was about 6-7 years ago. And that's really because the revitalization committee started out of the joint chamber and city council meeting.
Good. Thank you. What issues compelled you to run for the council position, and where do you stand on them?
Well, no specific issue started me on running for this. I have to go back to the first time I ran, back in 2007. And even further back to that, I graduated high school in 97. I saw Mayor Gardner when I was in school, and I thought, oh, cool, the mayor is the principal, and you can have 2 jobs. Didn't know that until then. And then one of my former neighbors, he's still my neighbor, Rudy Santos, was mayor pro tem, and he was mayor, and he lived next door to me. And then I saw Dennis Bond get elected whenever I was, just out of high school, right around high school time. And I saw a younger person getting elected to an important office. And I thought, wow, that's that's really great, and maybe I could do something. And I had a discussion with a friend in school, and he said, I can't wait to get out of this town. And I said, well, why do you want to do that? And he said, there's nothing to do here. And I said, well, we can say that, or we can stay and we can make a difference. And I chose to stay and make a difference. And from that point on, I started attending council meetings, and I started coming to, I sat in council meetings for 4 years before I ever ran in 2007. So I believe strongly that the community is what we all each make of it, and we can all make it better. It's just how much work do we want to put in. My family does a lot to help me be able to do this. I couldn't do it without my sister and my wife's uncle and family, and helping watch the kids. And I take the kids in, with me on a lot of things. And I believe that the Angleton is about family and about community, and I believe that's where we all should be involved, and we all should be active in that aspect.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Now, are there any additional comments or anything you would like the voters to know about you?
Well, I just want to say that, God has blessed me with being a member of the family that I've been in, and everything I've been able to achieve and accomplish, and I don't take anything lightly. And anytime somebody says, you got my vote, I want them to know that you're not voting for me because of, you've seen my card, or somebody, a friend of mine. You vote for me because you've seen what I've done, you've seen the dedication and the experience that I bring to this position, and that I have the best interests of the city at heart in everything I do. That's really where it all boils down to.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And once again, this is John Wright, running for position 5 for the Angleton City Council. Thank you so much for being here. Enjoyed visiting with you. Thank you.